The hardest part about putting together your first budget is actually populating your first budget. Where are you at today? Where do you want to be at tomorrow? In this video, we're going to dive through a step-by-step process of me filling out my own personal budgeting template so that you have the context of how to put all of these pieces together. Hey, my name is Nick, and on this channel, we talk about the tips and tactics to the topics I wish that we had learned in school. In this case, how to put together your first budget. As always, there are timestamps listed below so that you can jump around to the parts and pieces that matter most to you. If you find any of the information valuable, please feel free to leave a like or subscribe so that you can stay up to date on any of the videos that are going to be coming out in the future. Also, I always have a link to a blog post or an article that might be helpful for you along this journey. Feel free to click that for more information if you need it. All right, so in prior videos, we went through how to select a budgeting template, how to select a budgeting framework. Now we're going to actually spend the time and energy to put it all together. The easiest way of doing that is looking through some of your past credit cards and debit card statements and kind of seeing the trend of where or how much you're spending in what categories. Depending on your bank, they'll actually put these into categories for you and start to show you some of the totals of like how much you paid for gas or things like that. In some of the other cases, it's going to be a little bit more manual, but it's actually helpful to kind of look at these different things because you're going to end up seeing what your current situation is today and ideally make some of those modifications of where you want to be at tomorrow. So we're going to jump over into the actual My Budgeting template right now and populate one of these for the first time together. Alrighty, so now you can see a copy of the personal budgeting template that I've put together. I'll go through each of the tabs here below and start to populate it with you so that you can see how it all kind of operates. There's two kind of things to keep in mind before you get started. One, anything that's kind of highlighted in this yellow color is going to be a input field that you can populate and it'll calculate somewhere on some formula somewhere throughout this process. Anything that is in any other color, try not to really modify it just because there might be a formula that might break later down the road. Another thing to keep in mind, if this is one of your first times using Google or Google Sheets, I do have a how-to guide here to show you how to make a copy of it so that then you can actually edit the template that is yours and safely only yours. So that version won't be shared with me or anything like that. That one is just for you to use, edit, and modify as you see fit. If you are following along in the budgeting template guide that I've been putting together, I do have a section here for you to type in what your why or goal or things like that is, just so it's a helpful reminder, at least for me, every time I open this up every month, what I'm working towards. Here, I have a couple of areas that you can select the income because there are different ways or different time frames that paychecks do come in. Sometimes it's monthly, sometimes it's every week, things like that. You can break that down here on the income piece, and then it's going to calculate automatically what your estimated monthly income will be. Put in the post-tax amount. So this is going to be the amount that you take home after any of the taxes and things like that are pulled out of your paycheck. So for this example, I'm going to say that I get paid monthly. I'm going to say that, let's do annual. Let's say I am making $45,000 per year. We'll assume that that's after taxes. And so that puts me at a total of around $3,700 for my estimated monthly income. Now that's going to populate the rest of the sheet so that it'll help you out in the budget later. If there's multiple jobs that you're working or multiple incomes, you could populate all of those based off the frequency as well in these tabs below. And if, let's say, you're doing this as a couple, you could put partner one's income on one line, partner two's income on another line, and then you could actually work through this whole process together with your significant other. The next tab here on the bottom is your debt tab. This is where you would go through any of the student loan debts, credit card debts, car loans, anything that has an outstanding amount, just so that you can track where each thing is and then what type it is. So there's a list here that you can feel free to populate yourself. And then on the bottom here, and we'll touch about this in future videos and later down in the guides, but identifying what your debt pay down strategy is going to be. So there's two very popular ones, debt avalanche or debt snowball. So once you populate the top part, it'll actually categorize them based off of those two methodologies so that you kind of just work from the top onward down to identify which priority of debts you want to eventually pay off. Now, the one that I really want to highlight here is going to be the actual budget tab itself. Again, you've populated your monthly income. And so you can see here that the 3750 on line 13 has already been populated from the other tab. And it's already started to calculate things based off of what budgeting framework that you want to go by. So if you want to go through the 50-30-20, or you want to go through the 50-40-10, you can select which one you want, and it's going to modify the rest of the sheet accordingly. So for this one, I'm going to type in 50-30-20. I'm going to see that then that means that per month, I can't spend more than $18.75 on needs. The goal is to spend less than $11.25 on wants. And ideally, I'm putting away at least $750 in savings per month. As I get down to section 3, this is where I start to populate things. Now, on the other screen that I have open, I have a list of some of my expenses. So like it has my credit card bills, things like that. I do also use Rocket Money, where if you have any questions on that, there's the link in the description below if you want to check that out. I use Rocket Money to summarize a lot of my expenses across multiple different accounts. I ultimately am looking to do here is start to populate the yellow categories with what I'm paying. I've pre-populated them with a lot of the common line items that I personally have or use, but feel free to modify, add, remove ones that aren't applicable to you, because I know everyone's situation is different. Another thing that you'll see here is on line 29, it's pulling any minimum expense from your debt tab over into this. So if you have, X number of minimum payments, that's going to be reflected as a need, because one of the things that we're doing as we're putting this budget together is we don't want to be delinquent when it comes to paying back some of the credit cards, because we know that that's going to impact things like our credit score. Hey, we'll get right back to the video in a quick second. I just want to let you know that any of the guides, tools, resumes that you see in this video or any of my other videos, I've put together in what I call the Trailblazers Foundation Kit, and it's free to anyone in my community. You can access it and have it emailed directly to you at nicholasayala.com/kit. All right, that's it. Back to the video. So now we can just go through this, right? So if we're typing in, I don't know, housing, let's say it's $900 a month. Utilities, I'm spending $200. Groceries, I spend maybe $30 a week. So let's do $120 for the month. My car insurance is like another $100. And we can kind of go through this. I don't know, phone, gas, things like that. Now we're going to go to the wants category, start to fill that out. Now, the one thing that I do personally is I populate stuff in here, even if I'm not necessarily going to use it. It's so that I know that I have that money sitting in the bank account somewhere in case I need it. An example specifically for that is going to be things like shopping. So I kind of a little bit more on the minimalist side. So I only go shopping like once every couple of months, but when I do, it's usually going to be more than what I would allocate on 1 month's basis. So usually I put like a placeholder here. It'll be like $50 a month to go shopping, so that, in 3 or 4 months time, I kind of have $150 to $200 to go buy something that I might need. Eating out, I don't know. If I want to eat out twice a week, average is $15. So 30, maybe it's like another $150 to go out and eat every month. Groceries, travel, just start to populate things that you see as line items in your own expense. The key here is to not put what you ideally want. It's to what you're seeing already in your expenses, because by the time you fill all of this out, so like my gym, and I pay $15 for Netflix, things like that. If I scroll up to the top here, you could see that it's starting to summarize based off of what my needs category is, my wants category, or savings category. So like in the needs category, I didn't fill everything out, but I only have $47 if I want to be, using this framework. And I didn't fill out everything, right? So like gas, I spend $40 a week on gas. In maintenance, allocating something for like oil changes and things like that, I probably spend close to $300 on that. Health insurance, this was a line item that I had there back when I was laid off because I had to pay for it out of pocket, but right now it's zero because it's through work. No life insurance, no disability, property tax. So I do own a house. Whatever number that is per month is really important to know, because that's a post-tax expense I'm going to have to spend. Let's see, what are some other pieces in here? Pet insurance, $50 a month. Pet food, probably spend $60 for my dog. And so now if I were to scroll up here, you could see that it's showing a negative amount. So if I look also here for just that category, it's going to show that $362 as like I'm over that amount. As you fill everything else out, you're going to start to see where you're at today in terms of what your needs categories is, what your wants categories is. And, in some cases, you're below where you're at and you're like in a really good spot. In some other scenarios, you're going to be significantly over. And then this is where you start to look and groom and make conscious decisions on where you want to pull back to start setting a budget to go forward on where you're going to be with everything. All right, I know I rambled a lot. There's a lot to kind of take in. Feel free to watch this video again if you need it. This link to this template is located below. So feel free to grab your own copy, start to populate it. And in the next one, we'll double click on some of the debt pay down strategies, specifically in the debt tab, when we're looking at the snowball method and the avalanche method.